Somewhere right now, someone is smiling at you, while quietly hoping you fail. They don't compete with your work. They compete with your confidence. The world isn't kind to the slow or the naive. It belongs to those who understand how power really moves. What if you had the 10 laws that separate those who get played from those who control the game? These aren't rules for the moral. They're rules for the awake. Because when everyone's pretending to be good, the one who sees clearly wins everything. This is the Machiavelli process, the 10 ruthless rules for power and survival. Point 1. Never trust goodwill. Your enemies hide behind smiles. They'll clap when you rise and whisper when you fall. Not because they hate you, but because your success reminds them they're still standing in place. Look around. Every smile in your circle isn't a sign of love. Some smiles are disguises, soft masks covering sharp intent. People rarely attack you with open fists anymore. They attack with kindness, with silence, with a helping hand that pulls just a little too hard. That's the thing about goodwill. It feels warm, but it blinds. You think someone is supporting you out of care, but often it's just calculation. In the game of power, goodwill is a currency. People spend it when they need you and save it when you need them. Most people don't wake up thinking, how can I betray today? They wake up thinking, how can I win? If your win aligns with theirs, you're friends. The day it doesn't, you're in the way. Here's the truth. No one betrays for fun. They betray for necessity. Your mistake isn't trusting people. It's trusting motives. Even loyalty is conditional. A man is loyal while it profits him. When it stops, he'll rewrite the story, and suddenly you're the villain. So stop expecting morality in a world built on advantage. People help when it helps them. They vanish when it costs them. Don't hate it. Understand it, because the one who understands human motive never gets surprised, only confirmed. Picture a king, loved by his court, adored by his people. When war breaks out and gold runs dry, those same voices that sang his name will curse him. Not because they changed, because the rewards did. You see, love fades when benefits fade. Respect dies when dependence dies. If people no longer need you, they forget you. So your goal isn't to be loved. Your goal is to be needed, because need outlives affection. Make yourself essential, in business, in relationships, in influence. When people can't move forward without you, they'll stay loyal, not out of emotion, but survival. And survival beats sentiment every time. Goodwill is like perfume, nice to smell, deadly to drink. Take compliments as information, not validation. If someone flatters you too much, they're either afraid of you or want something. Let actions reveal truth. A real ally protects your name in rooms you're not in. A false one just performs support when the lights are on. Learn to test people quietly. Withdraw your help once and see who stays. Silence your approval and see who still claps. Distance exposes motive better than confrontation ever will. You don't need paranoia. You need pattern recognition. When someone's energy changes, track what changed in their life, not in yours. Maybe their loyalty didn't fade. Their opportunity just shifted, and don't think you're immune. The moment your survival depends on someone else's affection, you've already lost leverage. Be generous, but strategic. Give in ways that strengthen your control, not weaken it. Let people earn your support. When something costs them effort, they value it more. Remember, power doesn't live in affection. It lives in necessity. A person who loves you can still leave you, but one who needs you will protect you. If you ever forget this, study history. Empires collapsed not because enemies attacked, but because leaders believed their allies loved them. They confused applause for allegiance. So the ruthless rule is simple. Never trust goodwill. Respect it, use it, but never depend on it. In this world, clarity is protection. Don't see people for who they pretend to be. See them for what they pursue. Once you understand what drives them, you'll know exactly where you stand. If this hit you, wait till you hear what comes next. Because goodwill isn't the only illusion that gets kings killed. The next rule is darker and far more dangerous. Point 2. Appear virtuous, act strategic. The mask of power. The most dangerous person isn't the one who lies. It's the one who tells half the truth, just enough to make you trust them while they move in silence. The world doesn't reward honesty. It rewards presentation. Every room you walk into is a stage, and whether you admit it or not, you're performing. Your tone, your timing, your posture, all of it sends messages louder than words ever could. But here's the mistake most people make. They think being real means being raw. It doesn't. Being real means being effective. You can't walk into a world built on illusion and expect truth alone to keep you safe. You need the mask. Not the fake one, the strategic one. Machiavelli once said, "It's not essential to be good, it's essential to seem good." That line wasn't cynicism, it was survival. Because the crowd judges what it sees, not what is. If you appear kind, noble, selfless, they'll follow even when your motives are sharp. But if you show the full depth of your strategy, they'll fear you long before you act. So here's the paradox. Power hides best behind purity. The saint's robe has concealed more ambition than the crown ever did. Let's break it down. You have two games in life, the visible and the invisible. The visible is what everyone sees, your charm, your ethics, your gestures of goodwill. The invisible is what truly matters, your goals, your calculations, your leverage. Most people fail because they only play the visible game. They show all their cards, hoping honesty earns respect. But the wise know better. They perform goodness while practicing precision. This isn't hypocrisy, it's strategy. You've probably met people like this. The boss who seems humble but always gets his way. The friend who plays innocent but never loses control of the room. The public figure everyone adores. Until their scandals are revealed years later, and by then it doesn't even matter because their power is already cemented. They mastered the mask. And the mask works because humans are visual creatures. We don't follow truth, we follow appearance. That's why the ruthless understand. If people believe you're good, they'll excuse your ruthlessness. If they believe you're fair, they'll justify your dominance. If they believe you're wise, they'll forgive your mistakes. Perception builds freedom. Freedom builds control. You don't need to deceive everyone. You just need to manage what they see. Smile when they expect fear. Stay silent when they expect rage. Compliment when they expect competition. Every unexpected act becomes power, because it makes people question their ability to read you. And once they can't read you, they can't control you. Mystery is a weapon sharper than truth. Here's a trick few understand. Your words should be made of silk, but your thoughts should be made of steel. Speak of unity while plotting direction. Preach loyalty while observing weakness. Offer warmth but think cold. The world fears open hostility, but it obeys quiet authority. The one who can smile and calculate at the same time. That's who survives. When you play the mask right, you never have to justify your ambition. Others will justify it for you. They'll say, "He's strong but fair. She's tough but honest." They'll build your defense without realizing it, because you already trained them to see you as virtuous. This is why you must control the story before it controls you. Your image is armor. Your reputation is your shadow. It walks ahead of you, opening doors or closing them. If you don't build that shadow, someone else will, and they'll use it to bury you. Let's get practical. If you want to rise in any field, business, politics, or influence, never show your hunger too soon. Ambition, when visible, threatens egos, but when disguised as dedication, it earns applause. When you help someone, let it seem selfless, even if it's strategic. When you win, act grateful, even if you planned it. When you lose, appear calm, even if you're already plotting your comeback. The art isn't in deception itself, it's in the balance between what you show and what you are. Think of it this way: softness on the outside, steel within. Kind voice, calculating mind. Gentle hands, firm control. That duality keeps you untouchable. People love what they can admire and fear what they can't predict. You want both, because love blinds your followers and fear keeps them loyal. The honest man is predictable. The predictable man is easy to defeat. But the masked man, the one who hides intention behind virtue, becomes untouchable. He wins not because he's good, but because he appears to be. Summary within the story: power doesn't require cruelty. It requires control of perception. When people think you're righteous, they'll follow even your wrongs. When they think you're dangerous, they'll challenge your every move. Choose your costume wisely. In the theater of power, appearance writes destiny. Truth may be sacred, but perception decides who holds the throne. So wear the mask well, polish it daily, and beneath it, keep your strategy cold and your purpose clear. Because in this world, it's not the most honest who rise, it's the most convincing. Point 3. Control information, control reality. Truth doesn't rule the world as perception does. The one who controls what people know controls what they believe, and what they believe becomes reality. Power doesn't begin with strength. It begins with information. Muscles win battles. Intelligence wins wars. The man who knows more powerfully moves first, speaks last, and always decides the ending. Most people confuse truth with power, but truth is fragile. It only matters when people believe it. Perception. Now that's bulletproof. You can lose everything, your position, your allies, your wealth. But if you still control the story, you'll rise again, because power doesn't belong to the honest. It belongs to the narrator. The ones who shape reality are not the loudest. They're the ones who whisper first. They feed the world the version of events that suits their design. And everyone else ends up defending or denying a script they never wrote. That's control. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Whoever controls information controls the mind. It's not about hiding everything. It's about deciding what gets seen and what stays buried. The weak reveal everything, hoping transparency earns trust. The strong reveal selectively, so that every word, every silence, every gesture becomes a weapon. When you control what others think they know about you, you control how they treat you. Imagine two leaders. The first speaks openly. He explains his plans, his goals, his weaknesses, thinking honesty builds loyalty. The second speaks less. He listens. He studies. He lets others fill the silence with their own assumptions. And when he finally speaks, it's precise, like a dagger to the throat. Who do you think wins? The first becomes predictable. The second becomes dangerous. The silent man always has the loudest power. Control of information begins with self-control. You don't owe the world your thoughts. You owe yourself your advantage. Speak only to achieve something. Every word should serve purpose, not emotion. Every pause should carry meaning, not hesitation. Loose lips build empires. For your enemies, here's a truth most never accept. People fear what they can't read. They respect what they can't predict. That's why mystery is a magnet. It pulls power toward you. The less they know, the more they imagine. And imagination is always exaggerated. They'll see you as more powerful than you are, and that illusion alone keeps them off balance. Never ruin that by over-explaining yourself. Information is leverage. Used right, it can destroy a rival, elevate your image, or make people depend on you completely. Want to make someone loyal? Let them believe you know something about them they wouldn't want revealed. That's not blackmail. That's psychological gravity. They orbit your silence, but remember, power doesn't just come from what you hide. It also comes from what you create. Information can be crafted. A narrative can be sculpted. A rumor is the softest weapon and the hardest to trace. You don't need to prove it. You only need to plant it. A whisper of doubt in the right ear can do what an entire army can't. Destroy a man's credibility without ever touching him. Never fight with evidence when suggestion works better. Facts convince minds. Stories control hearts. The crowd doesn't want truth. They want clarity, even if it's false. That's how propaganda works, how influence works, how entire civilizations are steered without realizing they've been steered. To master power, you must become the architect of perception. You don't need to lie. You just need to guide belief. When you make people think your ambition is noble, they'll call it leadership. When they think your manipulation is moral, they'll call it wisdom. When they think your strategy is selfless, they'll call it destiny. See, control of information turns ambition into virtue. But you can't do that if you're predictable. That's why the powerful move like smoke, never in straight lines, never revealing all of their plan at once. they compartmentalize. Each person in their circle knows only what's needed, nothing more. That way, betrayal can never destroy them completely. Even when one wall cracks, the fortress stands. Information is your kingdom. Guard it like gold. Once you lose it, you can't get it back. Even your allies should never know everything. Today's ally can be tomorrow's rival, and the one who knows your secrets can use them to bury you. Keep layers within layers. Let even your closest confidants believe they know you completely. They never should. Now let's flip the lens. How do you use information offensively? You observe constantly. People leak more than they realize. Through their words, tone, hesitation, and silence. Watch where they avoid speaking. What makes them defensive? Where they laugh too loud to hide something. That's the real intelligence network. Not spies, not systems, human nature itself. The man who can read a room doesn't need to read a report. So the next time you walk into any space, listen before you talk. Let everyone else expose themselves through vanity. They'll brag, overshare, and reveal the very things you can later use. When they talk, you learn. When you talk, you lose. It's that simple. Machiavelli called it the art of invisibility, to speak so carefully that even your honesty hides something. To share pieces of truth so people think they've seen your whole hand, while you still hold the ace. Never underestimate the power of partial truth. It's the most believable kind of lie. If your rival rises too fast, don't attack him directly. Just let a rumor slip. One sentence, he's ambitious. Maybe too ambitious. Then stay silent. Others will finish the story for you. And by the time he defends himself, the damage is done. The moment he explains, he looks guilty. That's the beauty of information warfare. Control information, and you control rhythm. You decide when people panic, when they hope, when they trust, when they crumble. That's why the most powerful don't argue. They orchestrate confusion, then offer clarity that conveniently serves their goals. That's how kingdoms, companies, and movements are built, not through honesty, through narrative. So remember this law. The truth only matters if it serves your purpose. If not, shape it until it does, because the world doesn't care who's right. It cares who speaks with the most certainty. And when you speak last, calm and certain, Jai, you've already won. You've now learned to control perception. But what happens when threats start forming against you? The next rule is the turning point, because we'll talk about how to strike first, before anyone even knows a war has begun. Point 4, strike first. The law of preemption. Act before you're forced to. Waiting is a luxury the powerful can't afford. Strike before your rival forms a plan, and the contest never begins. Preemption wins wars quietly, long before the crowd even smells smoke. People like to call it boldness. History calls it survival. The moment you give your enemy time to organize, you hand them momentum. Preemption is not about cruelty or chaos. It's about foresight and control. It's the difference between shaping the battlefield and scrambling to survive on it. Machiavelli wrote it bluntly. The wise prince sees danger in its whisper and removes it before it becomes a shout. That doesn't mean blind aggression. It means reading the room, sensing the pattern, and acting in a way that removes options from your opponents while preserving yours. This chapter is a manual for that mindset. How to spot the signals, evaluate the risk, and execute moves that close down threats before they ever become threats. Why waiting kills you. Human nature loves reassurance. We wait for data, consensus, and the right moment. The crowd calls that prudence. In practice, it's often paralysis. When you wait for perfect certainty, two things happen. Someone bolder seizes the window. Markets, trends, networks, they favor the first effective mover. Threats consolidate. Rivals recruit. Allies clarify. Narratives form. By the time you act, you're dealing with a built machine, not a loose idea. Look at the founders and leaders who moved first. They didn't have full answers. They had the nerve to act. And when you act, your action becomes a fact others must adapt to. That's leverage. Preemption creates the psychological edge. If you can redefine the conversation on your terms, the rest respond to your tempo. You control the frame. You pick the battlefield. How to see danger before it arrives. Preemption starts with attention. Most people miss the early warnings because they listen for the big drum, not the faint rhythm beneath it. Here's what to watch for. Behavioral drift. People don't announce betrayal. They change habits first. A partner who stops answering, a supplier who delays, note the micro shifts. Resource movement. Who's hiring, who's meeting, where money flows. A competitor quietly hiring a team in your niche is more honest than public boasting. Narrative shifts. PR, social tone, even a shift in language on public profiles. Story changes precede strategy changes. Network realignment. Watch who's suddenly linked to who. Alliances show themselves in invitations, shared stages, and new boards. Emotional leakage. Flinches, defensive jokes, unnecessary praise. People give themselves away. The person who learns to translate these small signals into strategic intelligence gains the option to act first. That's your advantage. Preemption without recklessness. The calculus acting first is not the same as acting blindly. The core of preemption is calculated action. That means map the downside. What's the worst case if you move? If losing that choice is survivable, moving may be right. Preemption is often about eliminating catastrophic risk, not chasing glory. Define the margin of error. If your move fails, how recoverable are you? Preemption is smart when your fallback preserves your core. Sequence with subtlety. The first strike needn't be public or destructive. Many preemptive moves are quiet. A hire, a strategic partnership, a protective legal structure closing a channel of influence. Own the narrative after you act. Once you move, control how people understand it. If you don't, rumor will do it for you. Preemption done well minimizes cost and maximizes disruption for the opponent. Preemption done poorly looks like panic. Tactical preemption. Business-safe moves that win below are real, legal, strategic moves you can use to preempt competition or threats. The kinds of actions that change the game without getting you blacklisted by law or ethics. Hire the talent first. If a competitor's strength is talent, recruit it. That both denies them and integrates their skills into your system. Lock in distribution. Secure exclusive partnerships, shelf space, or platform access so others must reroute around you. Buy small strategic assets. A targeted acquisition or domain purchase can remove a rival's most efficient path forward. Pre-announce competence, not plans. Subtly signal capability by showcasing results, case studies, or client rosters. Don't reveal playbooks. Create binding dependencies. Make partners and vendors rely on you through contracts, tech lock-in, or co-branded launches. Control information channels. If attention fuels your industry, secure channels where your message lands first. Newsletters, podcasts, microsites. Use legal shields early. Patents, trademarks, NDAs, intellectual property, and legal structure can preempt competitors more efficiently than a price war. Seed narratives strategically. Plant doubt about a rival's readiness with question-raising signals in trusted networks. Let the market do the work. Invest in redundancy. Build buffer capital, alternative suppliers, and backup channels so you can act quickly and decisively. Create small irreversible moves. Launch a pilot, sign early customers, or lock a distribution window. Even small facts on the ground force others to reevaluate. Each of these is a way to act first without screaming. They move the board under the opponent's feet, rather than trying to knock them over with noise. The psychology of preemption. There's a human law embedded in this strategy. People react to facts, not hopes. When you make a fact, a signed deal, a hired leader, a published product, you force others to adapt emotionally and strategically. They must commit resources, justify actions, or capitulate. Preemption leverages two psychological realities: loss aversion. People fear losing the advantage they've begun to seize. A decisive move threatens that budding entitlement. Momentum bias. Humans follow motion. Early movement draws momentum. Latecomers must push against it. Use both to your favor. Act early to seize momentum, and frame your actions so losses look like the opponent's own fault. Case studies, short relatable examples. Tech founder A spotted a nascent market and hired 2 engineers in a small city before competitors noticed. 6 months later, he shipped an MVP and raised seed capital. Competitors who waited spent triple and never caught up because he had the product, the team, and the narrative. A regional retailer noticed a supplier talking to other chains. They preempted by signing an exclusive pilot for a new product line. The supplier had to prioritize them to secure the larger rollout. A marketing agency learned a rival planned a big PR campaign. Instead of public attack, they quietly secured the keynote slot at a major industry event, preempting the rival's message and forcing them into reactive posture. Each example shows the same pattern: early targeted moves that change options for everyone else. When to strike? A quick decision checklist. Before you act, run this mental checklist. Is the threat credible? Pattern plus motive plus capability. Task threat. Can I act within a window that still produces surprise? Will acting now reduce future cost or risk significantly? Do I have a recovery plan if the move backfires? Can I control the story after the move? Is the action legal, ethical within my context, and worth the reputational cost? If most answers are yes, preemptive action is often the correct choice. If not, gather more intel, but don't fall into paralysis. Training the mind for preemption. Preemption isn't a one-off, it's a habit. Train yourself with these routines. Daily signal scan. Spend 15 minutes each morning scanning the small changes in your market and network. Weekly what-if drills. Simulate rivals' moves and imagine 5 preemptive counters. Choose the cleanest one. Maintain optionality. Keep at least 2 fallback plans for each major bet. If you can't recover quickly from a failed preemption, the risk skyrockets. Build rapid execution teams. Your ability to act fast is often limited by bureaucracy. Build a small cell that can move with minimal approvals. Normalize decisive small bets. Small irreversible steps, pilot deals, exclusive test runs, teach you to act and to live with outcomes. Preemption is as much discipline as daring. Ethical and legal guardrails. A word of clarity. Preemption as strategy is not a license to cheat, steal, or harm. The strongest, longest-lasting power is sustainable power. Use preemption to build durable advantage. Exclusive partnerships, legal protections, reputation building, not to wreck people. Short-term sabotage can create long-term enemies who will hunt you later. Be ruthless with strategy, not with legality or human decency if you want to be unstoppable. The quiet closure. Turn preemption into routine advantage. When you make preemption a consistent part of your approach, people stop surprising you, and you start surprising them. That psychological edge compounds. Every time you remove a risk early, you shape the terrain for the next move. The board becomes yours. Preemption isn't glamorous. It's surgical. It's about small decisive acts that deny an opponent options and force them to react on your timetable. And when you act first, you don't just win a battle. You change the story. Others are always playing catch-up. That is power. You've learned how to strike early. Next, we'll talk about the tool that multiplies any early strike. Leverage. How do you take one action and make it echo tenfold? That's the next rule. Point 5. The law of leverage. How to make small moves create big outcomes. The rich don't work harder. They pull harder on smaller ropes. Power isn't built by effort. It's built by leverage. When you learn to multiply your force, everything you touch expands. Wealth, influence, control. Most people burn out chasing success because they believe hard work alone brings wealth. It doesn't. If effort alone made people rich, construction workers would own the banks. Effort matters, but only when it's multiplied through leverage. Machiavelli understood this centuries before modern business. He wrote that a prince should use others' arms, others' resources, others' minds to achieve his purpose. That's leverage, using systems, people, capital, and knowledge so that each move carries 10 times its weight. The rich don't just act, they act through something. Their time compounds because they've built levers. What leverage really means? Leverage is using one unit of your effort to produce multiple units of result. It's the difference between pushing a car with your hands and using a hydraulic jack. Same goal, but the jack magnifies your strength. In the financial world, it means using capital to amplify returns. In social strategy, It means using relationships to multiply reach. In personal life, it means building habits and systems that work even when you don't. Every empire, business, and fortune, modern or ancient, was built on this rule. Find the levers that move the world, then pull them with precision. The 4 pillars of leverage. Let's break it down into 4 controllable types of leverage you can build even if you start with nothing. Information leverage. Knowledge is the cheapest, most scalable lever in the world. The person who knows something others don't, or knows it earlier, controls decisions. When you study patterns, markets, and people, you turn insight into influence. One insight can replace years of trial and error. Information lets you be the chess player, not the piece. You don't need fancy degrees, just pattern recognition. Watch where people consistently get stuck or emotional. That's where hidden opportunity lives. Capital leverage money is a force multiplier. It doesn't have emotion. It works while you sleep. Even small amounts, when deployed right, can command labor, technology, and systems. The poor trade time for money. The rich trade money for time. When you reinvest earnings into assets that produce income, businesses, skills, content, intellectual property, your money becomes a worker that never takes breaks. That's how fortunes compound. The key: spend less on comfort, more on capacity. People leverage. You can't scale your impact alone. A man who refuses to delegate will always remain his own ceiling. Smart power doesn't dominate people. It aligns them. You give people reasons that serve them and serve you. When goals overlap, loyalty follows naturally. A team that believes they're part of something larger is a lever that keeps multiplying without more effort from you. Think of great founders, leaders or creators. They didn't grow by cloning themselves. They grew by transferring belief. That's leverage in its most human form. Media and technology leverage. In Machiavelli's time, control meant ruling cities. Today, control means ruling attention. One message online can reach millions while you sleep. That's exponential leverage, scaling your voice beyond your hours. Technology gives you automation. Media gives you multiplication. Together they make time almost irrelevant. Use tools that publish, schedule, and amplify. Not to replace your authenticity, but to project it efficiently. If your ideas can travel without you, you've built invisible employees that never rest. How leverage compounds. Leverage is not a single action. It's a system of cause and effect. When you combine 2 types of leverage, your output explodes. Information plus media, influence capital plus technology, passive growth people plus systems, scalable organization. Each lever amplifies the others. The person who builds multiple forms of leverage becomes untouchable because even when they rest, their system moves forward. Why most people never build leverage? 3 main reasons. They're addicted to control. They want to do everything themselves because it feels safe. But safety is the enemy of scale. They undervalue their time. They spend hours saving small amounts of money instead of building systems that free hours for high-value thinking. They think small. They chase tasks, not systems. They work in their business instead of on it. Breaking that pattern requires humility. You must admit your time isn't infinite and design your world around that truth. Real-world application. Building leverage from nothing. Let's be practical. How do you build leverage if you have 0 money, 0 connections, and 0 audience? Start with content. Writing, video, code, art. Anything that can live online creates long-term compounding attention. Learn a rare skill. Skills like writing, coding, persuasion, storytelling. These are multipliers that create leverage for decades. Collaborate early. Work with others who complement your skills instead of competing. Partnerships double your reach with half the effort. Automate tiny things, even small tools, scheduling, email systems, templates, free hours that compound weekly. Document what you learn. Teaching forces clarity, attracts attention, and builds authority. Your learning becomes an asset. The secret: build 1 lever at a time. Each lever creates room to build the next. Psychological leverage, the hidden layer beyond money and systems. There's the most dangerous form of leverage: emotional control. When you can stay calm under pressure, people defer to you. Your stability becomes their anchor, and anchors rule ships. In tense negotiations, power belongs to the one least emotionally invested. Silence becomes leverage. Patience becomes leverage. Control your own state, and you automatically control the room. That's the rarest and most admired kind of power. The Machiavellian edge. Machiavelli never glorified greed. He glorified strategy. His advice wasn't be ruthless, it was be precise. The prince who multiplies each act through others creates durable power. He said, "He who builds on his own shoulders builds little. The wise build on the shoulders of systems, allies, and time." That's leverage. Final reminder: replace effort with architecture. You'll always run out of hours before you run out of dreams. That's why leverage isn't optional. It's oxygen. Every day ask yourself, what am I doing that a system, a tool, or another person could do better? Then replace yourself piece by piece until your energy is spent only on decisions that truly move the machine. That's how freedom is built, not by doing more, but by doing less that counts more. You've learned how to turn small acts into empires. But leverage alone doesn't keep power. It only expands it. Next, we close with the ultimate lesson: how to protect everything you've built and walk through chaos untouched. Closing power doesn't belong to the loud. It belongs to the calculated. Those who see through illusion, control perception, act before danger, and build systems that multiply their reach. They don't chase dominance. They design it. Remember these 5 ruthless laws, not to become cruel, but to become unbreakable. The world doesn't reward fairness. It rewards foresight. So master the game before the game masters you. If this stirred something in you, don't just scroll, let's rise sharper. Subscribe and step deeper into the dark truths that shape real power.